Again. I want to call this meeting to order. The Library Building Committee. It's Thursday, August 3rd, 2023 at 4:25. We're at, it's a hybrid meeting, but some of us at 1111 Somerset Avenue, Dayton, Mass. The agenda is subject to revision, additions prior to the meeting. The listing of the matters are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. I would ask everybody to identify themselves. My name is Ken Pacheco. I'm the co-chair of the committee.
Mike Mullen, Town Administrator.
Nicole Mello, Board of Selectmen.
James Aguirre, Building Commissioner.
Jonathan Gale,
Thank you.
Gales Historical Commission.
Jocelyn
Ronald Honor, co-chair.
Tavares, Library Director.
Mark Tavares.
Thank you. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag, States of America, Republic, and liberty, and justice for all.
The next agenda item is a town meeting update.
This is just I think a really quick update. This is our first time convening since we did have a town meeting. And thankfully, based on the budget overviews we have in front of us, we do have the available funding sources, of which does include the approved CPC funds and the approved funding in the amount of $404,000. So we had a very successful annual town meeting in that regard. I'm not sure if anyone else has anything else to add on town meeting. It seems like eons ago now.
Yeah, a couple of months ago, but I think the CPC funds was unanimously adopted. And the other funds are $404,000. There may have been a couple of people who objected to it, but it was most of the people were supporting the library, which is great news. Anybody have any questions about on the update of the annual town meeting? Nope. Next item is the state budget update, fixtures, furniture, and equipment.
So this is a very exciting piece of news that we have to share as well. The state budget, which finally went to the governor, I believe on Monday of this week. Representative Pat Haddad, at the beginning of the House budget process, she filed and secured $175,000 as a funding source for the FF&E, which was the last element of the project that we always knew that was out there and we needed to identify a funding source for. And so she sponsored that. And secured that in the House budget. It went through the conference committee process with both the House and the Senate, and with advocacy also from Senator Pacheco, and it was included in the final legislative budget. So, so the governor at this point has 10 days to veto any parts of the budget that she doesn't feel I will agree with, and but we feel really good that as a process is actually finalized, that we at this point will have the $175,000 as a dedicated funding source specifically for the FF&E, which is very very exciting. I mean, it's another, in my view, it's another example of the efforts that we really prioritize from the beginning to anything we can do to keep the expenses off of, the local tax base to complete this project we've tried to do. And thanks to the help of the state and our legislators, that is something we've been very successful at to date, so.
If I could just ask for some clarification, the text that I got from State Representative Pat had that says 150,000.
It's,
Was it reduced at some point?
I believe it's 175 in the budget. I can double check the budget.
Yeah, I checked the budget after I heard from Representative Haddad, and it's 175 in that line.
Which is great news.
Yeah, and we should point out that earmark is part of a larger line item with close to $28 million in it, I believe, so the odds are pretty good that the governor's not going to veto that, I would think, so.
It's a $56 billion budget, so I don't think that this is gonna be.
Something that helps out.
Yeah,
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
So with that taken into account, are we missing funds for anything? Like, does that bring us to the end game or? no?
Yes.
It does? Okay.
Yes, I believe, I believe we have all the funding. I believe we have all the funding in place, barring any unforeseen issue to really make this whole thing whole. And so to bring it to an opening.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and I do want to say, whenever you have a building project,
There could always go.
even
Yeah.
at $2 million, you can
Yeah.
still see overruns. We're gonna do our very best to make sure we have control over
Mhm.
that.
Yep.
And I assure you, I will give my 150% to do that, but it can happen.
No, that's
So, just really to piggyback to like a big. Part of that will really depend on what we get back for bids once we put a lot of the project out to bid. And we have already done that. And on parts of the project and the feedback still in the proposals, especially for electrical. That we've got back and actually still have executed agreements with. That fits very nicely into what we had still like initially projected, which. Anytime you go out to bid and out to the market. You cross your fingers and your toes. Like at least on the electrical so far. And we're fitting exactly into what we had projected, which is, it's a relief.
and this money's are just for fixtures and furniture. So in other words, I'll just do, I know the roof's okay, but if the roof had to be replaced, these funds can't be used for that.
The 175, as far as I know, no.
It specifically says in the legislation, fixtures, furniture and equipment.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, out of those three words, the word equipment is a little broader than the others.
Right.
But it is, and really generally specifically for, those types of things, expenses.
There was additional funds that could potentially be coming down the line from some grant that we did not qualify for last
Yes.
time, right? But we could put in more.
Yes,
Okay.
and that's, I think, one of the next things on the
Oh,
agenda
sorry.
too. It's okay,
She's asking you to move along.
probably, I get that a lot.
Is that 175, do we think that's gonna cover the furniture and stuff?
That has not been,
I know we haven't.
that has not been calced out. Jocelyn, do you have anything to add for that? No, okay. No,
Yeah,
So the answer is no.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna get us pretty far along.
Based on
but-
funds from Friends of the Library.
Right.
Thousands.
Yeah, and they're doing a fundraiser.
They're doing fun, yeah.
Right.
Those that play golf.
No, you can be a dinner guest. I looked into.
My
it
wife and I are
because
gonna be dinner
golf.
guests.
Okay, I am too, because I don't golf.
But I will.
so
join the-
the golf thing is for September 17th, and that's the big fundraiser. People are welcome for just dinner, and of course, if you want to volunteer to help out on that day, you're always welcome to do that too. Or to make a donation for raffle items, you're welcome to do that.
Thank you, Pat.
Yep.
Any other questions about the funding? Next, agenda item is cultural facility grant opportunity to reapply.
Yeah, Josh, do you want to take the lead and giving an overview on that and the feedback that we received?
Mike and I had a conversation with, I don't know what his exact title is, but he, kind of oversees the, the programs, the funding programs for, Mass Cultural Council. And he explained some of the areas where we can tighten up our application. We are able to explain that now that the CPC has been approved for the HVAC system, we can explain that in this next round and ask for funding for other purposes. And that's basically it. We have until the 16th is the deadline to reapply. I don't know if you want to add anything, Mike.
Yeah, like we had, and yeah, like it was a helpful, so like it was a helpful discussion with the MCC. Basically, long story short, we have many moving parts to this project. We always have. And I think one of the challenges that the MCC had was actually following the bouncing ball. And so yeah, sort of Jaws' point, yeah, like what they recommended was really tidying it up, how we got here and how we're asking for their help going forward. We did say, so when we did clarify that what we had initially requested, still in the with the $200,000 for HVAC was the tightest, most, and yeah, really mostly still easy to understand example of what we were seeking funding for. And that they, like, I think our initial application was confusing to them because we, for the purposes of transparency, we tried to give them so whole overview of the construction budget. So within which the $200,000 HVAC requests fit into. They seem to be very confused by the fact that we would like have a request so as part of a larger ask. And to which Jocelyn and I really wanted to really really clarify that, like, if we didn't do that, so when we weren't so essentially transparent and so actually sharing with them how we want to make this and how we're trying to make this whole project work. And yeah, we wanted them to understand the full picture. So I think once we said it out loud, they did, but like somehow and how we represented it. So in writing, it was just really confusing to them. For some reason, which, so, yes. So obviously one of the, so one of the things though, as we procure all the architectural and engineering components, of the project as well, the HVAC component is really the first, bones or the foundation of the project that we want to get out. So then we have the ability to do everything else we need to do around that. So the question is, and what we have to really focus on between now and August 16th. So is if we reapply for just the HVAC and having that still like as like an unknown whether it will actually come true, we will basically have to almost wait to finalize a funding source for that component of the project till October. So it isn't that long of a wait till we know. But I mean, at the same time, every month that goes by at this point is time that holds us up from actually doing like anything else. So I think one thing, so it isn't a whole heck of a lot of time, but I think the committee should talk about now, oh yeah, like whether we want to continue to focus on the HVAC component, just because, oh yeah, that funding out of everything is probably the most, oh yeah, like it's really probably the most discernible. So, or do we try to reapply for another part of the project that, oh yeah, oh, yeah, that may come further down the road in the construction phase, so we can get the HVAC component sort of the project underway. Like, I mean, and it could go either way, but I think to have some clarity and direction as a group, so we have an ability to reapply for something. Oh yeah, like I really think we should talk about then decide on now, if that makes sense.
So if this grant is approved, does this money go back to CPC? Does some of the money or not?
So I guess the question would be, what is the grant asking for? What is it going to purchase? Because if it was a purchase that was in the CPC
Mhm.
grant application, then I would say the answer to your question is yes. If it's not, and it's something out of, say, the capital request, then I would think that money, if there's any left over at the end of this project, would then
Wouldn't be
revert back
utilized.
to capital. Right. So I guess to answer your question in the easy terms, if we're able to get this grant and secure funding that we asked for from another source within the town of Dayton, would have to go back. Unless, of course, we have overruns, then we need to discuss that at that time.
The CPC funding that we requested covers the HVAC?
Yes.
Okay, so then it would.
Yes, right.
Yes. The only other thing, because one thing is affecting the other here as well. So we have to, and we're in the middle of procuring. In the middle of procuring the services of an on-call architect and engineer to guide us through the rest of our construction project up there. Those bids, and we've been working on it almost every day, it seems lately. Those bids at this point aren't due until the end of August. So then we have to meet, review, and evaluate them. So I guess one of my thoughts is if the only thing we're actually waiting on, is an MCC determination in October. That's not a whole lot of time between really the beginning of September and some point in October to wait for a decision like on the HVAC. At the same time, we have funding in hand for the HVAC, so that won't actually prevent us from putting that out to bid. So I'm almost inclined to think that we keep the same focus on the HVAC. Like that would make us being very consistent with what we have said all along. And then on a parallel track, once we hire or once we officially bring back on an architect and engineer, they can help us put that out to bid. So and I think really the timing is really going to run parallel to each other, that by the time we're ready to actually award that, we will probably be right in the time frame of knowing where we are in that grant process as well.
So,
Just-
go ahead.
I just had a thought about another purpose that we could use the facilities grant for. Should we have I don't know. I don't want to use the word study, but an assessment of the sound in that large space and have that kind of addressed, and we could use that cultural facilities grant money for moderating the the noise and all that space. Aside from putting up like panels on the wall.
This is just my thought. And so if hypothetically, we get the HVAC grant. That is really gonna give us clarity in terms of funding and also project construction timelines about how we're gonna be able to continue on with everything else. So if we have that understanding and clarity right at the beginning, that has the ability to obviously and to offset the costs from from CPC, so or to allow us as a committee to even consider swapping something else from the CPC box to the town, to the $404,000 funding box as well. So yeah, kind of, but my sense is because the whole infrastructure of the building relies on the HVAC.
Okay, audio now unmuted, mute, currently unmuted, Alt plus A, mute.
Like having that really understood and clarified how we're dealing with that first, because once we know how that is really gonna be funded and we have some closure to that, so then we can plan forward any other any other issue or consideration that we have to do in the future.
This is Jonathan, and I think it would make sense to think about what everyone is saying. Keep in mind that the CPC money, and we all know this, is only designed for specific types of uses. And it was funded based on the use that conform to what the CPC has to follow for our own criteria. And I'm suggesting, hearing what you're saying, Mike, that we do use it for the HVA system, because if we deviate from that, we may be getting into areas that the CPC funding wouldn't cover. And I think that's an important thing to think about. So going forward, if this other money were earmarked in the end for some other part of the project, that would make more sense. But I think you know what I'm trying to say. I think we might be going down a slippery slope. If we ultimately went with a different part of the project right now with this same money, that might not be covered.
Yeah, we've already got the money. It's already been appropriated for the HVAC system. So
Right,
that-
but that's what I mean, Ken. It was for the HVAC system. So I would say I'm supporting that we need to do the HVAC system with it.
Yeah, if you let me finish, Jonathan, that's what I was gonna say, that
I'm sorry.
yeah, no, we got the funding for it, so we shouldn't be holding back on anything. We got the money. Let's go forward. We're gonna put out the bid and all that kind of good stuff. Let's go forward with the HVAC, but maybe look at this funding for something else that we didn't anticipate. Because we already got the money for that. I get it, if we get the grant and it's for the HVAC, we get to return it back to the town. But the residents have already approved that money for the HVAC system and other things. So if there's something that we have not thought of, I never thought about the sound or anything like that. And if we think there's a possibility we could get the grant for that, I think we ought to go for something else. I'm not saying we make up something.
The only hard part, because we don't have the so because in the current building construction scope that we have now, we don't have anything in there for sound. We'd basically be starting from almost zero, from trying to put something together to really apply for in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. I get that.
And just in terms of timing purposes, that's why. Based on what we've applied for, what we have tried to clarify with the MCC, So, yeah, like at least they understand what we're trying to do now. And if we can clarify in writing. So yes, it will offset. Funding that's already been approved, but hopefully at the same time, like it also. Still, like it continues to prove to the town. That, yeah, we're continuing to do everything we can. Yeah, to even offset the CPC funding sources too.
I don't want to oversimplify this, but we have a fully funded project. We have another funding opportunity. I say we apply for the grant. We continue on using the funds that we already have that have been appropriated for specific uses.
Yep.
If we're successful for the grant,
Yeah,
because we may be denied.
Yep.
Okay, then we can reconvene and say, okay, have we expended some funds in part? Now we can replenish the rest of them with the grant money and return some back to the townspeople. Or those particular accounts. If we're not successful, this thing can keep trudging forward on the path that we're already on. So, you know, I appreciate the dialogue. I think it's important, but I don't know if we're there yet. I don't know that I would start adding things to the project that were in the original part of the project, albeit it might be important, Jocelyn. We can revisit it later on. We had sound issues in here. We took care of them for not a lot of money. So we might be able to, if that's a problem, address that down the road. Don't forget, we're changing the layout in there. We're going to build walls. We might do some dropped grid pattern for lighting and things. That's going to change the dynamics of the room. We don't even know where we're there. So to write a scope now, not doing all that stuff would be impossible. I really think that's how we need to, I would like to leave this meeting today knowing what I can do right now from this day without having the on-call architectural services
Yes,
so that I can get to work
yes.
and then realize what we can do or need or can do or have to wait for
Agreed.
based on that, because I'm gonna miss 2 months.
No,
And based off what you said earlier about that prices could change, I mean, as we keep pushing this out, things
Right,
could become
right.
more expensive.
So I would like to leave here with some kind of marching orders.
no, I agree.
So
if we agree that we're gonna go for this grant for the HVAC system, we're gonna hold off then until that October. We're not gonna do that, right?
no,
We don't have to.
we can move forward now.
Yes,
And if we get the grant, we plan, okay, so we don't have to wait for the.
No,
exactly.
no.
Yep.
And we have the money, so it's.
and don't forget, that project won't roll out all at once. There may be a progress payment that's made to a contractor out of the CPC funding.
Yep.
And then the rest of it can come out of the grant if we're successful. That's why I say it might not be, all the funding might not go back, but some of it could.
Then
But in
we
the
can
meantime-
reclass it as well.
In the meantime, we're still on track.
Yep,
Right, and we
agreed.
didn't want to hold off on the HVAC because the winter's coming, we don't.
No, as it is right now, we're gonna be knocking on the door of the cold weather and this thing's gonna be going in. So we may have to re-energize that oil fired unit just for a month or two while this is going on. So
Does anybody else have any comments about this or opinion on this?
I just want to be clear so that we are saying, keeping our word that we're going to return funds to the CPC if available, if we get the grant, is that correct?
Yeah,
Yes,
Okay,
if, I think the record should show if the grant is for project items that were in the CPC asked, then the answer is yes.
okay, yeah.
any other questions about this? Should we have a motion, Mike?
yeah, no, like I don't, I don't think I don't think we need one because we haven't deviated from our plan all along.
So we'll be going for the grant for the HVAC system, reapplying again.
Okay,
Update on procurement efforts regarding 207 Main Street.
Yeah, so the procurement efforts, it seems like that's all I've been working on lately with Jim and others. It's been a labor of everything, but
I think we're gonna say labor of love.
Well,
so I said everything, which is open to interpretation, but so like at the end of the year, like, also based on the on the expenditure threshold that we hit, in the prior fiscal year, we had to put out, contracts for on-call electricians, on-call plumbing, and on-call professional services for like architectural and engineering services and project management services as well. We already have bids back from the on-call electrician. That was a very favorable. Paul St. George. He does an amazing service as an amazing rate for the town, and we're thrilled that we've been able to recontract with him. He's already done amazing work down at 207 Main. So we're excited about that. So we've re-entered a contract with him. The plumbing contract, a plumbing bid came back based on how the bid was proposed. We had to reject it. So at some point we have to put that back out. Like at the same time, everything is really like a lot of efforts are hinging on getting an architectural and engineering and project management firm back on board. We came right like in FY23, and based on what we've done for the library project so far, we've came right to the threshold. So which caused us to need to put the whole thing out, like, and put it out to a greater realm than we had before, based on the dollar amounts that we're talking about now. So we've done that. We are now at this point, actually earlier this afternoon, while I was late, we issued a second addenda for that procurement. And to clarify, because with the federal ARPA requirements, with that on-call contract, we have the ability to procure other services as well that where we know that we're going to need engineering and architectural and project management services. So i.e. for the Dayton Power sewer pump station that we need to do, and also potentially for parts of Main Street. So we're trying to make that procurement all encompassing, which is why it's been a labor of love, in everything. But we will have those bids back at this point on August 24th, which hopefully shortly thereafter we can re-procure the architectural and engineering and project management services that we need specifically for this project. And that will help us. And once we're there, that will help take us to a place where we can re-procure the HV, where we can procure an HVAC contractor, where we can re-procure the plumbing and any other building needs that we have at that point. So that's what the trajectory. So in the timeline, look for that. So basically shortly after, August 24th, we're going to be able to be off to the races with another contracted firm in the end. But unfortunately, we just have to go through these processes right now.
So we're able to use ARPA funds for the station,
For the
but not,
yes,
can we use it for the library also, the ARPA funds?
no.
Okay, so but we've got that in our budget, right? We've already put this in our budget when we came up with the figures, when we went before the town for the engineer and the architect.
Yes.
So that's already been figured.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And Jim, like you've been so involved, as much as I have been. It's is there anything I miss in terms of outlining what the timelines are there, or
No,
how we're trying to be very
no,
comprehensive in how we're thinking about all
no,
this?
but I think just for clarity, if it closes on the 24th
Yep.
and we have a successful submittals, at best, we'll be under contract by the middle of September.
Yes, yeah,
And then
that's
we-
really the timeline.
So
Yeah.
then we have to give the successful firm time to do their part. They gotta, if it's a company that we're not previously working with, they have to familiarize themselves with the project. There'll be a lot of meetings on site, myself particularly. And then they'll be able to start working on scopes and what we need to do to be compliant. That's why I'm concerned about this thing being end of September, or November, before things get rocking and rolling. So that's why I think there's other things that we can do in the meantime, if we're willing, that can be done outside of that process.
Does anybody have any questions about this?
No,
Cole? Thank you for that. Approval of the May 18th, 2023 minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the draft of the minutes from our May 8th meeting? Any questions about that or any corrections that? Did I skip something?
No, but I think we forgot. And to tell you, like, I just want to find a place to try to like answer Jim's question. Yeah, if we try to answer Jim's question on, like, under the procurement efforts, the timeline. And how that all relates to the budget, that we sent out earlier. Yeah, like, I think is important because sorry, Jim.
No, I don't think some of what I'm looking for requires a vote because it was already in motion before.
Okay,
But I just want to make
in terms of
sure,
the BP stuff.
post-town meeting
Yep.
meeting,
Yes,
post-town meeting, that we're still on track. So if I may,
Yep.
the ramp in
Yes.
particular was something that was already in progress. I have some progress plans that came back from the architect
good, okay,
that we need to provide to BP for them to get going on that at the fall start of school.
Yep.
I would like to,
This is the outside
yes,
ramp, not the.
Right.
interior. Okay.
I would like to move forward with that. If it means that the final plan needs to come back before us, before I give it to BP, that's great, but I would ask the chairman to call a meeting when that happens. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
So, but I do think the committee should be involved.
makes sense.
The other thing is that we had electrical work that could have been done, but we were waiting to procure the electrical tradesman contract, which we now have done. And in particular, there are some electrical concerns inside the building that I want to take care of, nothing fire related, but outside lighting has all been removed as part of the siding project. I would like to put back LED efficient lighting. So if that's something that I could continue on with, I would like to do that. The columns that have been taken down, I would like to continue on with the columns now that we have some funding. I didn't have any money before. So I guess I'm just looking, and I don't know if it takes a vote, maybe it's just in discussion. I'd just like to keep going if I can, that's all.
Audio now unmuted. Mute currently unmuted. Alt+A. Mute currently unmuted. Alt+A.
So that also brings us to the budget update in the budget documents we did send around, because like we have, so in the budget documents we sent around, they illustrated the funding sources that we have right now in terms of the 323 from CPC, the 404 from the FY23 budget, and then the $26,000 grant that Joslin also secured. We do, in the $150,000 article that was approved at the 2022 annual town meeting, there is $38,000 remaining from that. So I think in talking and completing the kinds of things, including the material for the ramp that BP is going to help us do. I mean, so in my view, the funding would come from the remainder of that $150,000 article.
Okay.
Mhm.
I don't think we have to vote on that then, right? The money's been appropriated. You feel we can use it for this?
Yeah.
I just didn't want to do any work there until the full committee was, especially after we didn't know where this was going to go.
Right.
But now that we know we're moving forward, I just wanted to reiterate where we were and where we'd like to go. And I don't want to miss the opportunity of
Mhm.
BP being involved with this project. So I'm down to the wire here to get them what they need. So
Has, has the architect provided plans?
he has provided a
Great,
plan.
okay.
Yes.
If the plans for the outside ramp are complete, Jim or Mike, could you forward them to me so I can get a look at them within the next week or so?
Yeah, they just came to me. They're in draft, so I would be more than happy to forward you the draft for your comments. And then I would like to firm up a final design so that I can come back to the committee for an approval so that we can have BP start it in the fall.
Absolutely. I will be back in the area anyway on Monday, Jim. So if you could get them to me, then maybe you and I can get together next week for a few minutes or something.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
So based on that, it gets back to the second to last agenda item. Does all this inform when our next meeting is going to be? And should it?
Yes, but can we pick a date now or do we have to wait?
I don't want to come to you unless I have a plan. So, yeah, is it something we can circulate an email
Yeah, that's-
with? Is that?
Yeah, how does the board feel about that? That we don't schedule the next meeting until we get more information on the ramp?
That makes sense. As long as Jim can, start working on other stuff too, I'm good.
Can I just ask one question through you? Patricia, tell me how you would like me to move forward with the column part of the project. Do you want me to come up with a conceptual and then come before your committee? Or how do you want to do that?
Yeah, probably a conceptual and then I guess to come to the commission would be best since it
Right.
involves the historical, restoration.
Okay, because I do have to alter those columns to save them. So there
Yeah,
will be some alterations. So I just want you to be involved.
okay. We're meeting next week and then in September, I think it's September 12th is our next meeting. Does that
Okay.
work?
Yes, that would work because that would coincide with the construction of the ramp. So I think that would work.
All right, so I can put you on the agenda for that,
Yes.
for September 12th. Okay, and we'll talk before then too anyway.
We'll go back to the minutes. Is everybody we all set?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry about that.
No,
Yeah.
sorry. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the draft of the minutes? Any questions or concerns about the minutes?
They looked fine from so long ago.
Oh, they sounded good.
Very good.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second,
Then,
So it says approval of the minutes for May 18th, but it's actually May 8th, right? The last meeting.
Yeah, was it?
Yes, May 8th. That's
yes,
what the minutes say. So is there a motion to approve the minutes for May 8th? Was there a motion made? Who made that motion?
Yes.
Me, yeah. Yeah, they're for May 8th. Yeah,
Who made the motion?
me, Pat.
Pat, who seconded the motion?
Ron O'Connor, second.
Okay, Ron seconded. Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote, roll call vote. Start with Jim.
I,
Nicole,
Aye.
Mike,
I'm an aye.
Ken Pacheco is an aye. Pat,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye. Ron O'Connor, aye.
Jocelyn,
Aye.
and Jonathan.
Aye.
Thank you. Any other things that we need to discuss? If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
second. Jim is an I.
Nicole,
Oh, aye, Nicole.
I'm an aye.
Ken Pacheco is an aye. Pat,
Pat's and I.
Mark,
Ron's an aye.
Jonathan, aye.
Jonathan's an aye. Jocelyn
Aye.
Thank you.
and Ron. Aye.
Ron's aye.
Yep. Okay. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
We'll see you in a few weeks, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank